What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Not how sane people act.
I don't care. I don't care. My jokes don't go over. I don't care. Everybody, I don't care.
You see? You're stupid minds. Stupid.
If you just read the bio for Dr. Steve, host of Weird Medicine on Sirius XM 103 and made popular by 2 really comedy shows, Opie and Anthony and Ron and Fez, you would have thought that this guy was a bit of, a clown.
Why can't you give me the respect that I'm entitled to?
I've got diphtheria crushing my esophagus. I've got Ebola virus dripping from my nose. I've got the leprosy of the heart valve, exacerbating my incredible woes. I want to take my brain out and blast it with the wave, an ultrasonic, echographic, and a pulsating shave. I want a magic pill for all my ailments, the health equivalent to Citizen Kane. And if I don't get it now in a tablet, I think I'm doomed and I'll have to go insane. I want a requiem for my disease. So I'm paging Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve.
From the world-famous Cardiff Electric Network studios in beautiful downtown Tukey City, it's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, now a podcast. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medicine provider, who gives me street cred with the wacko alternative medicine assholes. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
And my partner in all things, Tacie. Hello, Tacie.
Hello.
This is a show for people who had never listened to a medical show on the radio or the internet. If you have a question that you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call at 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Follow us on Twitter at Weird Medicine and at DrScottWM. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking over with your healthcare provider. All right, very good. Now, Dr. Scott, our stuff.drsteve.com is going again.
Oh, cool.
I still don't know if it's working, so give it a try. You can, I don't know. I don't know what to do about it, but I need time to just get on there and do a better job making it user-friendly, but it's there, and you can just click through and go shopping at Walmart. But you can scroll down and see the roadie, roadie.drsteve.com, or go to stuff.drsteve.com and scroll down Roadie Robotic Tuner and the Roadie Coach. NP Mel B was here last week after fiddling around with the Roadie Coach just for a little while. She could at least play Happy Birthday, so that was something. And she is musically completely inept.
Yep.
And so I was impressed that she could do even that. I was hoping for a little bit more impressive demonstration to sell this thing, but what the heck?
Yeah, well,
she never touched an instrument in her life.
She hadn't been playing for long either.
No,
I think
never touched an instrument in her life. I think it was a little longer than that, but still. But check it out. It's pretty cool. It's a great gift, and they're not that expensive. And the robotic tuners are very inexpensive. If you have somebody in your family that plays a stringed instrument, or if you do yourself, check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net, patreon.com/weirdmedicine. I'm just kind of throwing everything in there. Hell, I've even got recipes that'll get you laid. That's one of the segments in there.
Well, there you go.
Doing all the Dr. Steve one-shots, you get those on Patreon first. All the normal world stuff, worst way to die, fecal transplantation, the color of stool. I did a whole series on feces and Flatus. That's all on there. And I'll put the link for the show so you can see their reaction too. That's always fun. Okay. Anyway, check that out. Patreon.com/weirdmedicine. You could join for free too. You don't get much if you do that, but you get a little, some stuff. And then cameo.com/weirdmedicine. I'll say fluid to your mama or anything you want me to say, but within reason, of course. All right.
All right.
All right, very good. Don't forget to check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net, simplyherbals.net. Everything going okay over there, Dr. Scott?
Yes, sir. Everything's good.
If you, this is not an advertisement, but if you do order something from Dr. Scott, he'll send you some stupid weird medicine crap.
Yes.
We have stickers and all kinds of dumb. Just tell them you're a weird medicine listener.
Just let me know.
People ever do that?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, all the time.
All right, good. Oh, good. All right. And check me out on Normal World. I've been doing some stuff for them. I've got a weekly or bi-weekly, just depending on how we get the thing done. Ask Dr. Steve segment. I just did one on fecal transplant that derailed the show for a good 5 minutes. So that's always my goal now. Now, the next one I'm doing is female ejaculation. So,
there you go.
Yeah, I just once and for all, in 3 minutes, I'm going to set the record straight on that one. So, all right.
All right.
Tacie, you got something?
I sure do.
All right. Well, let's do that. Where the hell is your Tacie's time of topics?
I need it.
It's Tacie's time of topics. A time for Tacie to discuss topics of the day. Not to be confused with Topic Time with Harrison Young, which is copyrighted by Harrison Young and Area 58 Public Access. And now, here's Tacie.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
This episode is all about farts.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have 3 separate articles sent to me about farts this week.
Really? Just by coincidence?
Just by coincidence.
I know my niece Holly was one of them.
Yeah.
She is the fart lover.
She does love her farts.
God, she's the one that sent us the book on farts. As a matter of fact.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So this article is entitled South African Pastor Farts on People's Faces to Heal Them.
Yay.
Of course.
Okay. Chris Penelope farts on congregants claiming that it's a process to heal people. A South African pastor reportedly farts on people's faces as a healing process to cure all spiritual and physical problems. Pastor Chris Penelope of Sevenfold Holy Spirit Ministries in Siandani Village, Limpopo, South Africa, has created a buzz online for his unorthodox method of healing people after a photo of him sitting on the heads of people, apparently farting on them, went viral.
I wonder how he controls that, though.
I don't know.
Do you think he's got like a Will the Farter sort of sphincter where he can suck air in? I mean, you have to be able to do it on command.
I don't know, and I don't think it says so here. An attendee visiting the church complained, when we come to church, it's because we need prayers, not to be farted on. Mm-hmm. However, the pastor has defended his methods, insisting that he is simply demonstrating the power of God. Mm-hmm. It started with Master Jesus when he stepped on Peter. It is a demonstration of God's power.
Wow.
The Bible doesn't say anything about Adam saying, God, you are hurting me, the pastor told South African Drum magazine. According to the pastor, farting near the person's nostril is important so that the healing power can enter the body to do its work. He said, when they wake up from the deep sleep, they will tell you that they didn't feel anything. It is showing the power of God, and those who need healing are healed afterwards, and others get to manifest at that moment. Remember, when people try to tarnish your image, that is when he shows his glory. As long as souls are won into the kingdom, he who sits on the throne laughs at his enemies. That's what he said. I don't even know.
Well, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you this. It's less dangerous and probably just as effective as giving an antibiotic for a cold.
Well,
you know,
that's true.
Yep.
So they get better the same amount of time, and you're not exposing them to antibiotics that the bacteria are going to become
they don't really
resistant to.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Many people wait up to 2 months to meet him to get farted on.
Okay.
Wow.
Some even collect his farts in containers.
That does nothing.
We're done.
Well.
And so then here's this one guy saying, these are exactly the deeds the Bible warned us against. It is said that at the end of the world, there'll be people who do things that will shock us. My advice will be for people to make their ways right with the Lord, for the end is near.
God.
And then he
consistently
says he farts on people. He doesn't just fart, he heals. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, like I said, 90% of our patients would get better if they never came to the doctor. Yep. So he probably has a good 90% efficacy rate and a little bit of placebo effect too.
Scott also sent me an article, but it was I want to read the title, but it's very sciencey, and I don't want to read the article.
Oh my God.
Flatulence's surprising role in human production and women's mental health. So that's it.
Say it again.
Flatulence's surprising role in hormone production and women's mental health.
Okay, just read the conclusion.
Well, there's not one. It just goes blah, 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 blah.
It sounds so good that you...
Yeah, I did read it.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
okay.
I read it. Hello. Which is why this...
It's a legit article, you know.
Okay. Summarizing the findings in simple terms, Devlin explained, we found that bugs make drugs. Okay. That is, we found that bacteria and I got produce, here we go, allopregnanolone.
Okay, it's a progesterone.
Also known as brexanolone or Zulresso, an FDA-approved drug to treat postpartum depression.
Yeah, I've got here changes in estrogen and progesterone levels can cause flatulence in women. But this thing is saying if they have flatulence, that it's doing something positive for them?
I don't know. Yes, I think so.
God.
So anyway.
I think the take-home message is a healthy gut.
Yes.
Creates a healthy mind.
Oh, look who wants in my bell.
That's what I think.
Look who wants in my bell.
Yes.
So this is my part of the contribution for today's topic is
Lord and Lady douchebag.
Everything you wanted to know about farting.
Yes.
Okay. So what causes flatulence?
Now we're on to something.
It's a normal physiological process. Occurs when the bacteria in the large intestine metabolize things in our diet that we can't metabolize.
Correct.
If we didn't pass gas, we would explode. And that's a gastroenterologist with Houston Methodist Gastroenterology Associates saying that.
Well, good for him.
Our bodies have two processes to remove gas, belching and flatulence.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Well, you can absorb it too. When I had...
But not as quickly as you can get rid of it.
Well, it depends on the gas. So, they used to use carbon dioxide when they did colonoscopies, and you don't readily absorb that, and you could have these thunderous farts afterward because they blow up your colon like a balloon, and it's got to come out. Well, I took a Flatus flute when I had my last colonoscopy, and they used nitrogen, and there was nothing.
Right.
The guy said, "Oh no, you're not going to have any Flatus." I said, "I brought this whistling butt plug so I could record it with a real, thunderous Flatus," and there was absolutely nothing because I'd already absorbed the nitrogen into my body. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, why do farts smell so bad? Most gas passed during flatulence goes unnoticed because there isn't a cell smell, it may contain odorless gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane, but a small portion includes hydrogen sulfide, which causes it to smell
I'm going to give
like
myself a bell.
rotten eggs.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Oh, I said hydrogen sulfide. Yes, very good. That's the rotten egg smell.
Yes.
So what food?
People think it's methane. Methane does not smell, nor does natural gas. The reason it smells in your house is they actually introduce an agent so that you will smell natural gas if it's leaking in your house. That's my understanding.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So what foods and drinks cause gas?
I know, but go ahead.
Sugars,
Yes.
beans, beverages such as apple juice and milk, dairy products, fruit, sugar, alcohols commonly found in sugar-free candies and gum. If you've ever made that mistake, you sure do know it.
And there's a fiber supplement called inulin, or I think it's the same as chicory root. And it's the one, it's in, well, I hate saying a brand name, but Benefiber. It's the one that you can dissolve in water and it's clear.
Okay.
And it is the most flatogenic substance I've ever seen. And we've talked about this before. When they were going to do the fart contest at Opie and Anthony, I had to come up with some way to make people fart because there's no fun having a fart contest if everybody's just sitting there going, well, I'm fine.
Yep.
So I was going to give them 2 tablets of inulin the night before and then 2, about an hour before the show. And then they would have been farting like maniacs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How'd it turn out?
Well, they never ended up doing it. And I actually made a device for smelling them, and it had a face mask on one end and then ventilator tubing and then another face mask on the other end. And you'd put the one face mask up to your ass.
That just makes me want to vomit.
And then they would fart into it, and then there's video of it. And I remember sending it to them, and then I remember being mad because they didn't give me credit for the fart smelling machine. But that was for the fart contest, which we ended up never doing. Nor did we ever do Proctopalooza. I'm still a little pissed about that. But anyway, maybe we'll do it at DabbleCon.
Well, so if you are eating something and it tastes really good and it says it's sugar-free and it includes sorbitol, mannitol, or xylitol, be careful.
Oh, my God.
Or you will poop your pants.
The first time I went low carb, I went to GNC and I found these candy bars and they were 0 carbs, 0 net carbs, and they used sorbitol. And I know better. We use sorbitol as a cathartic in the emergency room, to get people to just get poison out of their system sometimes. There are certain ones you can give them sorbitol and it will just pass through real quickly. Well, I hadn't had anything sweet in forever, and I ate like 3 of those things. And on the way home, I just about soiled myself and filled the car with liquid stool. That's how bad it was. So be very careful. Tacie's 100% right about that.
So vegetables and whole grains. Now foods, if you want to have some smelly gas, you need to eat asparagus, beans, cabbage, coffee, dairy, eggs, onions, or prunes.
Really?
Yes.
And so if you stay away from those, your flatus will not be smelly?
Well, I mean, it just
because that's interesting. Because I have noticed that I have 0. I could fart all day and nobody would ever know it if they were silent.
But they're not.
Well, you really don't eat any of that stuff.
Yeah, no. You remember the joke about the guy goes to the doctor and says, I keep having these silent gas eruptions from my rear end. It just constantly just silent gas eruptions. And, I could be sitting in church and it's just, I have these silent farts. And right now I'm having silent farts. And the doctor said, well, the first thing we got to do is work on your hearing. Anyway.
Now, when do you see a doctor about flatulence?
When it interrupts meals.
When it changes in the amount and frequency of gas pass as well as abdominal pain, then it's time to talk.
Okay.
What conditions can cause excessive gas? Lactose intolerance, celiac disease. Other conditions such as abdominal adhesions, abdominal hernia, Dumping syndrome, which would explain a lot in our family, cause changes in how gas moves through the intestine.
You probably ought to explain that. But
our son has dumping syndrome.
And let's explain what that is. It's where undigested food is dumped into the intestinal tract before it's ready. And when you do that, if you don't let the saliva starts to break down starches, there are enzymes in saliva that will start that process. If you put a little piece of bread in your mouth and leave it there for a minute or two, it'll start to turn sweet. And that's the starch being broken down into sugars.
Right.
And so you've got to break this stuff down. If undigested food or, food unprocessed by the stomach ends up in the bowel, then all kinds of bad things happen. The bowel wall gets colonized by bacteria. You'll get cramping because the bowel is, it just can't absorb stuff, and it gets pissed, it gets irritated, inflamed. You'll have voluminous, smelly flatus on top of everything else.
Lovely.
Yeah. Diabetics can develop gastroparesis, which causes abnormal functioning of the stomach. One of those symptoms is excessive gas.
Yeah.
And then side effects of medicines sometimes.
Sure. Metformin being one.
Why does having gas hurt? When people feel bloated and experience gas pain, it is not necessarily caused by a person having more gas, but by the gas becoming trapped and able to move through the intestines properly.
Correct.
Can you hold in a fart, or is it bad for you?
Oh, yeah. I remember Lady Diagnosis asked this question.
Yeah, it's going to come out one way or the other, it says. Holding in gas because you're in public only causes it to build up, resulting in abdominal distension.
I just had a memory.
What?
I remember all of a sudden, it's as clear as day. My mom sat me down and said, "Now, Stevie," she called me Stevie, "if you have to pass gas, either hold it or go out of the room." Now, for her to have to sit me down to tell me that means that there was a problem. And I remember saying, "Well, if President Kennedy comes here, do I have to, go out of the room?" She's like, yes, you do. It's a dumb question for a kid to ask. It's also like, so there had to have been a problem. I don't remember the problem, but I remember her trying to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
it's very similar
there to
the my favorite sign at Dollywood Splash Country, which I've said before on the show. It says double inner tubes are for an adult and a small child. Maximum weight not to exceed 500 pounds. So
they couldn't get up the hill. They couldn't walk up that hill to go down.
You have to say that an adult and a small child. Not to exceed 500 pounds. It means that they've had that problem.
Yeah.
Why would they put the sign up?
No, you're right. Yeah, we speaking of flatulence in public places, when we were up in Bar Harbor, at a restaurant looking out over the ocean, sitting there eating lobster, there's this lady and I don't know if she was hard of hearing or what, but she did the same thing, just leaned over, cocked her hip up, she let one fucking rip right on the damn. It was hard, outdoor chair,
So it vibrated and reverberated.
It was awful. Rob looked at me. She goes, "What the fuck?"
My partner was British, and he would fart all the time, say that was just normal. I don't know. When we were in England, I had never noticed anybody else passing gas. I think it was just him.
It's bizarro, just bizarro.
Yeah.
But to hike your hip up to raise that attention to you, that's saying something.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Does the act of farting spread germs? In case you were worried about the internet removers.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Scott just reminded me of something. I have a friend, I will just say his name is Kirk, and he was 10-time indoor national archery champion. And he was a machine. He didn't miss an X for 10 years.
Wow.
And he was people were very intimidated by him. He's a big guy, and he had perfect form, and he could reproduce it every time. He never missed. So at the very finals of that tournament in Las Vegas, they'll put 16 people up, and then 8 and then 4, and then 2, and then, the winner.
Okay.
And when they had, and everybody draws at the same time, and then they have to shoot, right? Well, all the 16 were all in a row, and they pull back and they're ready to let fly. And Kirk lets out the biggest, most disgusting fart you've ever heard. I mean, it was just massive.
Oh, geez.
And all of a sudden you hear all these bows going off and you hear arrows hitting the ground.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
It was hilarious. And then some guy like 5 people down from him just yelled out, "Some nasty son of a bitch." So
what happened? What happened with the shot? Did he make a shot?
No, he made his.
A shot. How funny. How funny.
Of course.
That is hilarious.
I would see people when they'd get up to 4, and people who had never missed an X all day would start hitting in the 8 ring and stuff. It was just nerves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he would come back to me and say, it's all mental game.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So in case you're worried that you can catch COVID-19 from a fart, you cannot.
Correct. We talked about that back in 2020, remember? When it was just you and me.
No.
Okay.
There's no evidence that you can spread germs through flatulence unless feces is present. Fun fart facts. Women may actually fart more than men. However, they are
wet,
really wet
fart where actual fecal matter is being sprayed in your face. That's the only way.
Yeah. Women may actually fart more than men. However, they are typically more discreet about doing it. Farts can be flammable. We all know this. According to an NBC news report, upon release, farts can travel about 10 feet per second or 6.8 miles per hour.
Let's talk briefly about lighting your farts on fire. Some people can and some can't. And it's because of the production of flammable gas, mostly methane.
Gotcha.
Not everybody produces that. And it's not because their body doesn't produce it. It's their colony of bacteria don't produce it. And so everybody has a different microbiome in their bowel. And I did a whole thing, like I said, on fecal transplantation for Normal World, talking about how fecal transplantation can actually affect people's mood in a positive way. So, but anyway, yeah.
Okay. And if you're a scientist and you study flatulence, you're a flatologist.
Nice.
And the oldest recorded joke is an ancient Sumerian fart joke that dates back to 1900 BC.
What was the joke?
They don't say the joke.
Oh, bummer.
Okay.
Bummer.
Do you know what the name is for people who get sexual, sexual excitement from Flatus?
No, I do not.
It's called eproctophilia. It's a paraphilia.
Okay.
Its purpose is excitement when you hear or smell a fart.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No.
So anyway, all right.
That's good stuff, Tace.
That it?
That's it.
That was good. Thank you. I'll give you a bell for all your hard work on that.
Give thyself a bell.
Must be nice.
Whatever. Who cares? Stupid bell. All right. You want to take some calls?
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
you do it.
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
Hi, I'm Lara, and this is the Lara Bar story. I was on a hike in the Rocky Mountains when I felt inspired to make something that tastes indulgent and delicious using just fruit and nuts. 20 years later, Lara Bar is still at it. From chocolate chip cookie dough to cherry pie, there's a Lara Bar made for you. 100% real, 100% delicious. That's Lara Bar. Find your flavor at larabar.com.
ABC Wednesday. It's the premiere everyone is talking about.
I'm Joan, and I'm your first Golden Bachelorette.
Loves getting a second chance.
When you're 61 years old, you have very few opportunities to change your life. I have to be ready.
The Golden Bachelorette is proving romance never ages.
I represent millions of people in their golden years looking for love.
The Golden Bachelorette.
I am ready to find the next great love of my life.
Series premiere Wednesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Bring fun to life with the Instax Mini Link 3 smartphone printer. It's easy to transform your everyday moments into colorful Instax mini prints straight from your smartphone's camera roll. And with the new Click to Collage feature, you can create the ultimate in-app photo booth experience. Instax Mini Link 3. Don't just take, give. Click or tap now to learn more and shop.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie B. Exactly.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Quick question.
Yes.
I need some help.
Okay.
Not long ago, I had some pre-admission testing. I'm getting a shoulder replacement done here next week.
Okay.
My liver enzymes are elevated.
Okay.
I think it's because of the Percocet that I'm taking. I don't know. I think it's because of diet. So I've been hardcore keto for the last 2 years. In March, my wife passed away.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Since then, with the in-law drama, I haven't been able to keto.
He has in-law drama?
No, how does that happen?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's bad enough your wife passes away and then you have to deal with some sort of drama with the in-laws. I'm sorry, man.
Yep.
So do you think it's the extra sugar that I'm eating that is causing fatty liver?
You know what? I'm going to give him a bell.
Give thyself a bell.
Because a lot of times people don't think about carbohydrates when it comes to their liver, but we're going to talk about that in a second.
I don't know. I got to call my doctor, and they told me to call the doctor and stop the Percocet and change it to whatever the medication that's in Percocet without the Tylenol.
Oxycodone. Okay, that'd be the correct thing to do in that situation. So they told him to stop taking Percocet because that's oxycodone and acetaminophen or Tylenol. Okay. Tylenol just stresses the liver.
Okay.
And, too much Tylenol can actually kill your liver. So that's why they did that. So they took out the Tylenol part and just gave him the oxycodone. But now the question is, why does he have elevated liver enzymes? So, Tacie, you and I both have had episodes of transient liver enzymes elevated.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to have elevated liver enzymes at the end of this week when I get my blood work done.
Well, mine was caused by medication.
Mine will be caused by wine.
Okay. Well, right. So there's lots of different things. The liver only has really one or two ways to react to stress, and that's by cells dying and them releasing enzymes that were inside the cell body that now are leaching out into the bloodstream and can be detected. So there are a bunch of things that can cause this. About 30% of the population has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it's genetic very often, but it can be associated with high carbohydrate intake. Okay. So high carbohydrate intake causes increased insulin levels, and you end up with a liver that's packed full of glycogen, storage, and you can end up getting fatty infiltration in the liver because the body's got nowhere else to store this stuff.
Associated with like insulin resistance as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's been on low carb, ketogenic diet. Most of the time, if I have somebody on who has fatty liver, I'll try them on a lower carbohydrate diet. And a lot of times they can turn it around or arrest its development. But then, he's been in mourning, so he's been eating lots of carbohydrates and stuff, and his liver may be reacting that way. There's also a thing called refeeding phenomenon, where you have someone that was starving and then you refeed them and they can have liver damage as well. So other common causes: alcoholic liver disease, medication-associated liver injury, statins and drugs like that. That's what I had. Viral hepatitis. Yeah. And then there is another syndrome called hemochromatosis. Very rarely you'll get someone with a genetic thing called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. So the medical students and the residents out there, if you have someone with elevated liver enzymes, always ask them, did they have somebody in their family that had emphysema at a young age or something like that? Because they may be a carrier for this alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. Around here, if I test for it about 1 time out of 10, I'll pick it up.
Wow.
And it's good for them to know.
Yep.
And then there's other stuff that can cause it. So what they need to do is they do, a fasting lipid profile, glucose, serum iron and ferritin to look for hemochromatosis, total iron binding capacity, and then hepatitis viral panel. If all those results are normal, then lifestyle modification should be attempted. And you stay off the Tylenol, stay off the alcohol, go easy on the carbohydrates, and see how things go.
Do all those things.
Yeah. Well, and then they can do other stuff. They can do a liver ultrasound. They can, measure for alpha-1 antitrypsin, stuff like that. So, okay. So there is a workup for it. The first thing you do, though, when you get an abnormal test, and this is just general medicine, is repeat it.
Sure.
Because if you get a surprising answer, if you repeat it, it may do a thing called regression to the mean. In other words, the second time that you do the test, it may actually be normal because those were just flukes.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a good one. Tacie, you'll like this one.
Hey, Chuzzaroos. Evan from Michigan.
Hey.
I remember when I was in biomedical engineering school reading a study about using hyaluronic acid to replace the nucleus pulposus in herniated vertebral discs.
Yeah. He's talking about injecting herniated discs in the back with this stuff called hyaluronic acid, which we use for other things. And it's a ubiquitous molecule under the skin. It makes skin supple and stuff like that. It does all kinds of things. They also use it for lip filler.
Not nearly as neat as the newest use I've heard for it.
Correct.
Penile enlargement injection.
Correct.
Just thought that was something right up your guys' alley. Take a look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking at an article in the Annals of Medicine and Surgery, 2023. And the title is Efficacy and Complications of Hyaluronic Acid for Penile Augmentation, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. So longtime listeners to the show know that a meta-analysis where you take a bunch of studies and you mush them all together, and then they need to, like dissolves like, so they got to be similar studies. And then you can tease out more detailed statistics out of that because you've got bigger numbers. Well, anyway, they had 283 research subjects, and they did penile girth enhancement, and they found significant results compared to the placebo group, but there was no difference in the level of satisfaction with penile appearance 4 weeks after penile augmentation in the hyaluronic acid group. And now hyaluronic acid was significantly superior in sexual satisfaction 12 weeks post-penile augmentation with an insanely significant p-value of 0.0004. So that means 4 times out of 10,000, this could be a random event, that this would have happened by chance. No difference in the incidence of pain versus placebo. And so anyway, their conclusion was differences in the efficacy of penile augmentation, superiority of hyaluronic acid in increasing penile diameter and post-augmentation sexual satisfaction compared to this other stuff called polylactic acid. I don't want anybody injecting polylactic acid into my schlong. So now what they're doing, though, they can't make the length bigger, but they can make the girth girthier. Okay. And there are some guys who are taking this stuff and just, doing circumferential ridges to sort of make like a French tickler out of their penile shaft. And, so anyway, so it is a thing, and you can get some doctors to do that to you. I'm not sure it's worth the amount of the effect that they got, but maybe.
No, but I've never heard of them doing those in intravertebral disc injections.
Right. Well, they studied it. I don't think they're actually. I'm not sure if anybody's actually doing that.
No, I've never seen it or heard of it, but it said I was reading some articles right then. They said there is some benefit to it.
Sure.
In some small studies. So.
Yeah, hyaluronic acid is very well tolerated. The body does not, make an inflammatory response.
That'd be
to
a great
it.
other option to treat back pain for sure.
Yeah. All right. Good deal.
Cool stuff.
Excellent question.
Good question.
Yeah, I had a question about my testicles, I guess.
Okay, excellent.
Masturbating. And so basically cutting off the flow of my semen, I guess, so that I don't make a mess, I guess. And I wanted to see what the after effects or physical problems I might have when I do that, when I do that a lot. So, thanks.
Yeah, so he's squeezing to induce retrograde ejaculation.
I missed that part.
So what he's doing is, and this is not a completely uncommon procedure. I've heard, and other people have called about this too. So they're jacking it. And then when it's time to complete the session, they put their thumb over their urethral meatus, a.k.a. cockhole. Thank you. Very good, Dr. Scott.
Give thyself a belly.
Suck it.
And then through fluid dynamics, which fluids will go to the path of least resistance, the ejaculate will actually go back retrograde into the bladder. So a lot of people will do this sort of squeeze method to delay ejaculation, but when you actually do it, it's inducing retrograde ejaculation, as I said. I'm not aware that there are long-term effects to doing this other than you are sort of loosening up that sphincter. It's meant to
not allow things
correct
to leak through.
It prevents a barrier so that the path of least resistance is back out through the urethral meatus. So I'll have to do some research on that. I thought I had an article on it, but this is actually about premature ejaculation rather than here we go. Okay, are there any harmful effects to the stop squeeze method? And I don't have anything really interesting. A lot of people think it's uncomfortable and that the pleasure will be diminished, but this guy isn't saying that. So these are people. This is Quora. People on there just spout off. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'll do some research to see if there's any permanent damage being done to that. But I really can't imagine that there's much.
I can't either, because it's not like you're passing that much fluid anyway.
Correct.
You know?
And that sphincter only closes down just enough to make sure that the path of least resistance is through the urethral meatus, which has very low resistance because it's wide open. So I feel like he probably doesn't take that much to overcome it. But there is something about feeling that sort of great emptying. You know, people who have retrograde ejaculation because of medications or they've had prostate surgery or whatever, will tell you that they have the orgasm, but nothing comes out, and it seems strange. They feel somewhat lacking. So I would wonder, what's the problem? Just have
some
tissues.
And some medications can cause that retrograde.
But why not just have tissues there and just jerk
Why not
off
just
into
clean
a
it
tissue?
up?
Yeah, just
I don't understand.
right. Men are funny about cleaning things off.
Oh my.
Anyway, all right.
Oh my.
All right, my friend. Let's see. How about this one? This is a little different question.
Dr. Steve, got a quick question about rheumatoid nodules.
Okay.
I've had them taken out about 4 times, and each time that I have them removed, they grow back bigger.
Sure.
I was just wondering if you had any kind of answers on that. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely. If they truly are rheumatoid nodules, and Tacie, your mom knows a little bit about this.
Yeah.
They're firm, they're skin colored, and they appear under the skin in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. And they are the number one manifestation of skin complications from rheumatoid arthritis. They're usually found on pressure points like elbows, heels, fingers,
knees. Sure.
Yeah. And they can be tiny or they can be as big as a golf ball. And those are the ones that sometimes you have to remove. They can, they don't always require treatment. And I usually recommend people don't remove them because you can cause more problems than it. But if they're big goobery things and you can't put your elbow down, I guess you got to do something. So, but the treatment for rheumatoid nodules is to treat the rheumatoid arthritis. So disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs. So when we say disease-modifying, those are ones that actually change the course of the disease. For example, ibuprofen can be given for rheumatoid arthritis, and it helps with the pain, but they still end up with the damaged joints and all that stuff. So there are disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs. The early ones were things like gold and methotrexate, and now they have the biologicals that have their own unique, downsides, but are miracle drugs for a lot of people who have rheumatoid arthritis. So injections of corticosteroids will sometimes shrink them. And then again, if you do surgery, they're most likely going to come back.
Right.
So, all right. So there you go. Oh, and by the way, if you have rheumatoid nodules and you have a chest x-ray and they go, oh gosh, you've got this place in your lung, it may be a rheumatoid nodule. You can get them in your lungs. Rarely, uncommonly, but not unheard of. So, all right.
Steve, got a question. Sometimes I feel like I have to urinate, and I don't have the urge to urinate, so I have to force it out. It's a very occasional problem, but I was just wondering what could be the cause of that. Thanks, Dr. Steve.
You want to take it, Dr. Scott?
The first thing I'd say is check your prostate.
Okay. Yeah.
If you and that's one of the questions we ask people. If you start having changes in urination, you feel like you need to go and you can't go, you have to force it to go. Sometimes the prostate will swell up a little bit, and just a little bit of swelling in your bladder, you wind up taking up the muscles in your bladder because it's trying to force urine through. So check your prostate first.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I would do that for sure. Could have if he's young, he could just have a prostate infection.
Sure.
Could be inflammation of the urethra, which could be, it's not impossible, an STD or something weird like, there's Ureaplasma is a strange sort of not virus, not bacteria that can infect the urinary tract and cause a feeling of urinary urgency. So the question is, when you feel that, is your bladder full? What they can do is they can do an ultrasound. They have you.
Please say ultrasound first.
Yeah, no. So what they do is they have you. They do an ultrasound. They have you piss, and then ultrasound again to see what your post-void residual is. Now, if it's normal and you still feel the need to piss, it's not your prostate, it's not prostate enlargement that's causing the problem, blocking it off. It's not a mechanical problem. It's an inflammatory problem. And the other thing is, if it's just every once in a while, we've talked about people who have that sort of burning urgency after they have intercourse, and then they urinate, and it causes spasm of the urethra. So what I'm going to recommend that he does, on top of everything else that we've talked about, obviously get checked, is when he has that feeling, take his giant member, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and take his giant member and dip it in a cup or bowl of warm water, not hot, warm, but warm to the touch. And every single person who's ever called here that has the problem of urethral spasm has, when I've given them that advice, they 100% of the time call back and say that fixed it. And I discovered that when I was much younger, just because I would beat off with a full bladder or whatever. Is stupid. Don't do that. Yes. And then try to pee afterward, and I would get this horrible sort of burning urgency feeling in the urethra. And just out of desperation, I dipped my junk in a glass of warm water, and then, handed it back to my girlfriend. Here's your drink.
Oh, my God.
I didn't. Come on. And then, but it went away, immediately, like magic. So...
Unbelievable.
Not dissimilar to Dr. Scott's yellow mustard for GERD. It seems unlikely, but yet it works.
Wonderfully well.
Anyway. All right.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
Hello.
Last week you spoke of a friend of the show, Lady Di.
Yes.
Having a type of permanent brain damage from drinking alcohol.
Correct.
And specifically the cause seemed to be the loss of a vitamin called thiamine.
Correct.
When you drink alcohol year after year. So my question is, why don't we just add thiamine to beer?
This is such a great question.
Wow.
We talked about that back in the day. We had a lot of winos that were having Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which is there's Wernicke syndrome and Korsakoff's dementia, but we just call it one sort of spectrum of disease, Wernicke-Korsakoff. It's basically brain damage caused by thiamine deficiency. So when people come into the hospital, we will give them thiamine, and in the hopes that we could turn some of this around. And the original hypothesis was, well, alcoholics or people with alcohol addiction are not eating properly.
Okay.
They're malnourished. But it turns out that they also can't absorb thiamine. So there's two reasons why we can't put thiamine in cheap wine and beer and stuff like that, is because, number one, and this is what I was told 30 years ago, the federal government won't allow it because then you could market it as saying it was quote unquote good for you.
Oh, wow.
It would have a differential advantage, even though it would save lives. God forbid that some company could put thiamine in there and say, well, ours is quote unquote better for you. You know what I mean? And then number two, that people really need intravenous thiamine if they get really bad, because the alcohol syndrome causes their body to be unable to absorb thiamine.
Gotcha.
Okay? Pretty interesting question. But the political question is the one that pisses me off.
Yep.
Now, I saw Deng Lizard. You want to read his super chat?
Let's see.
Dang Lizard, thanks for the €5. Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead and read it because it's apropos.
Can old people not hold their farts, or do they just not care? Just not care anymore? I say I'm looking forward to not caring anymore.
There you go. Fair enough.
Dang Lizard.
Yeah, that dang Lizard.
I love it.
He's from Germany.
Okay.
He's one of our European listeners. But so yes, you always hear this term, old fart. I don't know if you have that in German language, but we have these old guys walking around with their hats and stuff. And go, look at that old fart. Well, that's where that comes from, right?
Oh, how
and there is some decreased tone in the sphincter for sure.
Yep.
And maybe because of aging and changes in their diet, they may be passing more flatus. Or they just can't hear it when they do it, like the lady or the guy in the joke. But yeah, it does seem to be a true phenomenon. I mean, cliches come from somewhere.
Yep.
And yeah, old farts.
I love it.
Thank you, Dang Lizard.
Yep.
And it could just be they don't care. I know my partner from England didn't care. I'd be walking behind him in the hallway in our office, and he'd just be passing these large, voluminous flatus.
Oh, Lord.
Loud. It wasn't like he was trying to hide it in any way.
Alter fierce.
I think his thing was just, why hold it in? It's bad for you.
Yep.
All right. You got any other questions from the fluid family, Dr. Scott?
Not yet.
No. Okay. All right. Well, let's answer some other questions then. Okay. I think we answered this one, or we had a story about it, but it's a good one to review.
Hey guys, how are we going to remove these PFAS and PFOS and BPA?
Yeah.
All these little microtoxins from our body. It gets in our stream.
Yep.
It builds up somewhere, maybe clack. I've heard distilled water is helpful. Maybe homeopathy, maybe supplements, all these maybes. But
right,
we, as a nation, we like science and like to rely on facts, and that is a challenge in itself.
Yep, agreed. So this is a great question. We did have a story on this, and so I'm just going to answer it with the answer we had then. Is these perfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, they're synthetic chemicals that they're resistant to grease, water, heat, and oil. They're forever chemicals. They're man-made. They don't break down easily, and they end up in our ecosystem, and then they end up in our bodies. And by the way, did you see the thing where they biopsied a bunch of penises?
I saw penis biopsies, and there was microplastics.
And I said, I have macroplastics in my penis. I don't know about you guys. But anyway, and then somebody asked me, how did they find that? It's like, well, they were chopping up penises.
Just doing.
It's the only way they could do it.
Slide studies on postmortem studies on penises, I guess.
Had to be on postmortem.
Yep.
Exactly. Very good, Dr. Scott. So anyway, back to the PFAS. Avoiding them is difficult because they're in our environment. But you can eliminate them from your system if you've been exposed to high levels of these things, or if, you can get tested. And if you have high levels of them, there's a drug called cholestyramine. Cholestyramine is not an active drug. It's a resin that goes through your system, and it adsorbs molecules onto its surface. And one of the things that it will absorb with high affinity are these PFAS. And once they are adsorbed onto the surface of this resin, you just shit it out.
Right.
And they are no longer in your system. And after, I can't remember, it was 6 to 12 weeks, 60% decline.
Okay.
So it was a half-life of around, I can't remember, 6 weeks, I think. Well, I'd have to look that study back up again. But that means that if you go 3 half-lives, you've got almost all of it gone. So, you decrease by 50% after 6 weeks, and then 25% would be remaining. After another 6 weeks, then 12.5. After that, if it's 50% each time.
Mm-hmm.
So cholestyramine is a real step forward, and that's an off-the-shelf drug. We've had it forever, and we used to use it for cholesterol. We don't use it anymore.
Yes. Pretty inexpensive, too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
It's very inexpensive. We use it for post-cholecystectomy syndrome, people who have diarrhea after having their gallbladders removed, stuff like that. So check that out. All right, Dr. Scott, before we get out of here, you have anything from the fluid family?
Good old goody two-shoes wants to know if peeing after sex really does help clean out the pipes.
That's a great question. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Now, for women, if they can void after sex, because their urethras are so small, there's a very short course between the outside world and the bladder.
Mm-hmm.
If they can void their bladder afterward, they are less likely to develop a urinary tract infection. I wonder if women who have coital incontinence, which, by the way, I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be covering in my next normal world piece, because there's female ejaculation and there is coital incontinence, where some women develop a large amount of almost pure water in their bladder during sexual stimulation that will leak out and sometimes gush out during intercourse. I wonder if they're less likely to develop urinary tract infections, and there may be an actual evolutionary advantage to that type of squirting, So interesting. But yeah, if you can void your bladder afterward. Now, for guys, the urethra is longer than the urethra of a female, and there's not a whole lot of advantage to cleaning out the pipes. And as a matter of fact, for me anyway, it causes a irritation. I don't know why, but it causes an irritation in the urethra that requires me to dip my junk in warm water, as we already mentioned. So, yeah. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of advantage to doing that for guys. And as a matter of fact, if you orgasm on a full bladder, it's not as pleasurable as if you orgasm on an empty bladder. And that's been demonstrated. All right. Live Ween, thank you for the $2.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, y'all three fluid family, Chat, Myrtle Manus, and Cletus. Well, Cletus. Cletus. Well, he works for Travis Tritt, don't you know? So, good Lord. And Corndiff, good Lord, Corndiff. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat, my friend. Felt a tiny bump in my beard yesterday. Thought I had an ingrown hair, but what I ended up pulling out looked like a grain of rice. What the shit was that?
Sounds like a grain of rice.
Yeah, it probably was a blocked follicle, or he may have had an epidermal inclusion cyst, or some sort of cyst under the skin. And what happens, the skin only has a few ways to respond to inflammation. And if you have skin growing under the skin, it's going to just form a cyst. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it'll be very, the roof of it will be very thin. You can just pop it out. So, but yeah, it was either an inflamed and enlarged follicle that you pulled out, or just a little cyst. All right. If you have pus that stays under the skin long enough, it'll solidify as well. So, but if you just noticed it, it shouldn't be that, because you would have noticed it before. You would have had a zit there that had persisted for a while. Okay? All right. Thank you, Corny. Corndiff, again, is from, I don't know, I don't want to dox him, but he's not too far from here, and we need to get him in the studio, and my understanding is he's a decent guitarist.
Oh, wow.
So it might be fun to have him in. We'll play some tunes. All right?
Cool.
All right, my friends. I have nothing else. Do you have anything else?
Wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks always go to Dr. Scott. Thanks, Tacie. Thanks to everyone who's made this show happen over the years. Listen to our SiriusXM show on the Faction Talk channel. SiriusXM channel 103, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, on demand, and other times at Jim McClure's pleasure. Many thanks to our listeners whose voicemail and topic ideas make this job very easy. Go to our website at drsteve.com for schedules, podcasts, and other crap. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps. Quit smoking, get off your asses, get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,